margin of over 500,000 votes. And many have said, look, this is an election that has, stamped him as governor of Imo State. It would not be like what they used to say, oh, the Supreme Court's governor. Again, he won with about 540,308 votes, defeating his closest rival of the People's Democratic Party, Samuel Iwanyan, with 71,503 votes. In Kogi State, a similar scenario played out where the All Progressives Congress candidate, Governor-elect Usman Ododo was returned a winner and declared governor-elect of Kogi State with 446,237 votes. His closest rival of the Social Democratic Party, SDP, came in with 259,052 votes. Dino Melayo of the People's Democratic Party came in third with 46,362 votes. Some issues emanating from the elections over the weekend. Just before elections started, we saw a situation where some result sheets had already been filled out with results. Some result sheets declared missing in Ododo Gongo, and that has sparked up some controversy. And in those areas, INEC has said, look, we're going to, have another election in those places where the result sheets were found to have been in the hands of people who should not have had them in the first place. And then people are asking, well, how did these people get the results? If people could have gotten the results for Gorimagogo, what's the guarantee that they didn't get the result sheets for other places and also fill out results before the elections even started? But it is what it is. The elections have come and gone. Winners have been declared. In those places where elections could go on, the INEC says, look, they've looked at the margin of lead and found out that it would not affect the outcome of the elections, and as such, they could go ahead to make declarations. I'll let you listen to the returning officer in Kogi State, where just before he declared Usman Ododo of the All Progressives Congress winner in that election. My guest this morning is Mr. Maximilian Tashilari. We had a conversation just a few days to the election. He's back again here to share thoughts with us on this issue. We're also going to have my guest from Imo State joining the conversation as soon as we're able to establish contact with him. Good morning, Mr. Tashilari. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning. It's good to have me again.
It's good. Good to have you. Now we're going to be talking about the elections, aftermath of the elections, and what's playing out in your state. But before then, let's take a listen to the returning officer in Kogi State, just so those who do not understand why an election will be going on the 18th, and already there's a winner in that election. Take a listen.
So, like I said before, we had checked the margin of lead, and we are satisfied that we can go ahead and make some declarations. So I'm now going ahead to make a declaration. I, Professor Johnson Orama, hereby certify that 1. I am the returning officer for the 2023 Kogi State governorship election held on the 11th day of November 2023. The election was contested. The candidates received the following votes. 1. Jibrin Osman Oyibe of Party A received 1254 votes. 1254 votes. 2. Brahimo Olayinka Adeneho of AA received 1440 votes. 1440 votes. Achimugu Augustine Abu of AAC received 424 votes. 424 votes. Abejide Leke Joseph of ADC received 21819 votes. 21819 votes. Elupo Julius of ADP received 1064 votes. 1064 votes. Ahmed Osman Ododo of APC received 446237 votes. 446237 votes. Ilona Idoko Kingsley of APGA received 469 votes. 469 votes. Isa Dauda Utewojo of APM received 130 votes. 130 votes. Onaji Sunday Frank of APP received 1135 votes. 1135 votes. Muhammad Kabir Umar of BP received 82 votes. 82 votes. Okeme Adejo of LP received 567 votes. 567 votes. Hassan Abdullahi of NNPP received 136 votes. 136 votes. Dirisu Bala Abduafa of NRM received 242 votes. 242 votes. Melaye Daniel Dino of PDP received 46362 votes. 46362 votes. Dr. Abdullahi Bayawo of PRP received 781 votes. 781 votes. Yakubu Murtala of SDP received 259052 votes. 259052 votes. Ombale Samson Agada of YPP received 868 votes. 868 votes. Suleiman Taye Fatima of ZLP received 227 votes. 227 votes. And Ahmed Osman Ododo of APC, having satisfied the requirements of the law, is hereby declared the winner and is returned elected.
And there you have it. The returning officer in that election in Kogi State declaring Usman Ododo of the All Progressives Congress as winner of the election. Well, Mr. Tashlani, let's start off by asking, let me start off by saying congratulations to all Kogi people and also ask what's the feeling like, what's the atmosphere being like since the declaration of Usman Ododo as winner in Kogi State? Is it one of jubilation, celebration, or is it one of sober reflection? Let me know what's happening there.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me again. If you look at what played out here, It's not different from what we actually predicted or envisaged or analyzed. As for the atmosphere here, it is very calm. To some who do not understand the nitty-gritty of politics, it's like a surprise or like a shock, and to others, a moment of sober reflection. And for the winners, it's a moment for jubilation and compensation for a very hard work that they are putting into the electioneering processes that accumulated into the proclamation or declaration of result yesterday.
So there was, before the elections or prior to the elections, there were, what do you call it, tension. There was tension. There were predictions of violence in Kogi State. In your assessments, generally, what how would you assess the elections as regards violence and issues of vote buying and all of those things? What do you see? What did you see or witness play out in that regard?
You know, if you study our election recently in Nigeria, some of those things that people complain or raise eyebrow about is not something that just flew up from the sky. It is something that are gradually creeping into Nigerian politics in the recent past. Now, when you talk of violence, vote buying, election rigging in whatever way, let me tell you, it is not an exclusive forte of one political party. I have seen what it is that every political party that has prepared to go into election have in the back of their mind to also do this. But at the end of the day, it is those that have the superpower that prevail, or the one that have superiority of rigging mechanism or violence mechanism that prevail at the end of the day. But to say that while all of these vices is restricted to only one political party, I will be telling you that I will be lying, so to say. And also, you see, the tension that people envisage was as a result of the build-up to the election. I told you as of the last time we had the last radio program, I told you that within 3 weeks of that period, nothing less than 10 to 15 people had already died because of election-related violence. So people envisaged that there could be more violence at the election. But you also remember, we're talking about the heavy military presence in that election, as we're looking at it, that is it actually a blessing or a cause or sort of that in a purely civil engagement that it will be highly militarized. But so to say again, we said that it was because of the tension that has built up prior to the election. Now people were jubilating that, okay, maybe with the presence of the military, there could be less of this crisis and what have you. But election being what it is, on that day of election, many things will play out. But at the end of the day, those who have the superior power will always take the lead and have their day. And that is what played out in Kogi election.
So are you saying that the ruling party in that state had a superior rigging power and all of that, and that's why they were able to win the elections? Because that's the feel I'm getting for what you just, your submission.
No, not at all. If you remember, I was giving you some statistical analysis. If you are a student of economics, there's what to have a comparative advantage of scale. That is to say, where you are popular, all the goods that you have the advantage of producing, you should also have the advantage of benefiting. But at times, it doesn't go like that. That is why also in economics, they tell you that interest parables, all things being equal. But in politics, all things can never be equal. And if you remember, I told you something. We talk about democracy. They say it's about the government of the people. And also behold that the majority will always have their way, while the minority will have their say. But if you also remember vividly, I told you something the other day, that an organized minority is a political majority, if you remember. So all those things, it doesn't count. That is why I said that in politics, 1 plus 1 may not be 2, that it can be 11 and also it can also be 32 and it can be 0. But also your level of preparedness But what I just want to disabuse, that because you are a ruling party, that is why you are able to perpetrate a lot of violence. No, you understand? Because, I told you initially that this election is going to be a tripodal ethnic trajectory. You understand? That this is how it will go according to tribal inclination. And also, you remember you asked a very fundamental question that at the course of this election, within these 3-5 days, did I see any hope of people making or coming together? And I told you that it is very, very possible. And we also saw it in this election. You understand? When it became a two-horse race between the people of Kogi East and Kogi Central, we also saw the role that Kogi West played. That's why I say an agreement can come into this equation. And you saw what played out. It became a straight fight between Kogi East and Kogi Central. Then the West now playing like an arbiter. Now look at the beautiful pride. You understand? As of what led to them conceding their own candidates or their own extraction, that I may not reliably gather the reason. But from what we saw in the election, why the candidates that represented Kogi Central have his highest vote coming from the local government from Kogi Central, why the candidate that supposedly representing Kogi East also have his highest vote from Kogi East. So, but that is why I talked about the comparative advantage of scale. You could see, despite APC being the ruling party, you may even say, okay, maybe they have the advantage of all those variables. We say, but that does not translate into concrete roads from Kogi East, where they do not have the dominance of tribe. So, say that the APC prevail because they have the advantage of violence or not, my brother, I will tell you it is no.
Let's talk about an issue that came up. About 9 wards where elections were suspended, and as a result of the fact that result sheets were already filled out even before elections commenced in some parts of Kogi State, and the INEC said, "Look, we're going to suspend elections in those areas, and there's going to be another election conducted in those areas on the 18th of November." As it is, what do you think played out in those areas? Many Nigerians are wondering how it is that it was possible for people to get election results sheets, something that's considered a very sensitive material. At some point is stored up, with the CBN. How did it get into the hands of people who should not in any way have had those documents? What do you think played out in that regard? And the fact that right now there's going to be election in just one, do you think it's going to be of any disadvantage to those people who may have been banking on the results from those areas to win the election?
Okay, but before I go into that, let me quickly correct an impression about this election being postponed. If I didn't read the letter, when they talk about maybe some irregularities or some challenges from some areas, INEC said that they have received reports that there are some challenges from those areas, and they are looking into it. And within 24 hours, they will let us know their decision, either to outrightly cancel those places or outrightly rerun those elections subsequently, or whatever decision they are going to take. Then categorically, it was that from Ogorimagongo that they said, okay, because of SYZ, we are going to have a rerun on the 18th. But if there is any other circular telling us categorically that other places they are going to be a rerun, unfortunately, sir, I did not see those.
I was speaking categorically in regards to Ogorimagongo, where the elections were suspended in 9 words. Wouldn't that throw up some levels of disaffection for the candidates and even for INEC? Because some people are saying very fast one on them by suspending the elections and then going ahead to declare winners in the election. INEC says, look, from what they've gathered, the number of votes that would, or registered voters in that area would not be substantial enough to change the outcome of the elections. But then in a free, fair, election environment, do you think that INEC should have waited to have conducted the elections in that area before declaring winners?
No, sir, I don't think, because when you look at the numbers, so to say, the Ogrimagongo that we are talking about, I think the registered voter is there about 17,000 registered voters. So already, when you look at the vote differences between the two leading contestants, APC already had about 446,000 and above, and closely followed by SDP, which has about 259,000. So when you even subtract 17,000 from this 446,000, it's still within the region of this 400,000. So when you look at it truly, based on that, conducting election or not conducting election in those areas again cannot significantly affect the outcome of the result. But if you say because of future statistical analysis and data, I would say, okay, yes, it is very good for those elections in those areas to be conducted before the result to be announced, but not as if it's going to change any other thing. If for some of us, let me even tell you something. When I saw, you see, in Kogi State election, those of us who are very much on ground in Kogi politics, there are local governments that we look at. When you come to the Eastern Senatorial District of Kogi State, our eyes are always on the Kina local government. Our eyes are always on Anpa local government and maybe Ofu local government. And when it comes to Central, when we look at its Okene local government, we look at Adazi local government, we look at Okehi. So you see, let me tell you, when you look at the results that come up, if you are able to take your data from these local governments that are called, you will be able to forecast the end of that election. Sorry, I did not bring in Kogi West because of what has happened. But when you are talking of Kogi West, you look at places like Lokoja local government, then Kababunu local government. But with alliances, just like we predicted, that is why I'm looking at the two leading senatorial districts, the East and the West. So when we begin, for me, for once, when I saw the result that came from Okene local government, I saw that APC already gotten 138,416 out of the registered voter of 151,243. And when I saw closely followed by PDP, which has about 1,463, and SDP, which is the highest contender in this election, coming with a battery of 271, I knew there was something. Then when I look at that of Anpa or Tekina again, which has the largest registered number in Kogi East, when I saw what came out of Tekina has about 187,841 registered voters. Sir, the SDP, which is supposed to be the largest beneficiary of this registered voter from Kogi East, posted just 47,480,000 votes. Are you getting me?
I'm following you. I'm following you 100.
Driver there, which is APC, having 9,174. I knew there was a problem. That is to say, out of the 187,000, they did not even come close to 50,000 of the registered voters of 187,000. So when you see the votes that are come from Okene alone, it will cancel about 5 local government or 3 local governments in Kogi East. When I saw the one again that came from Anpa, I was shocked. I said, okay, Anpa has 180,095 registered voters. But SDP, which is supposed to be the largest beneficiary of those votes there, got just 43,258. I said there is a problem. Then APC, which is the closest rival, had 8,707. Then you now see that Out of this 100, it's just like maybe like just 20% of registered voters that came out to vote in those areas. So when you look at it on and on and on, you will come to discover that having highest registered voters is not just only thing that play in a political dispensation or in an election. Much more than the numbers is what now I have seen from my own research that political education and awareness play much more role than even having highest registered numbers.
Interesting. I like what you said about political education. We're going to be talking some more about that. And then also we'll talk about the use of technology in this election, the IREV and what roles it played. Just give me a moment. Stay with us. The conversation continues. Keep it here on your radio experience. You can count on.
Eagles 102.3 Abuja.
Are you still renting? Do you dream of owning your own piece of paradise? Saframic Homes Limited is here to make your dreams a reality. At Saframic Homes, we offer you the chance to become a proud homeowner or landowner with a high return on your investment. Our properties are strategically spread across the heart of Abuja, boasting top-notch facilities including presidential suites, ample parking, a well-maintained road network, CCTV security, children's playground, integrated drainage system, and so much more. Don't wait. Call us today on 09069625632. That is 09069625632. Visit our office at Suite 519 MKK Plaza, Joseph Gomwalk Street, Gudu District, Abuja. Saframic Homes, where we pride ourselves in navigating excellence with promise of exceptional property value.
Eagles 102.3 Abuja.
Has anyone told you can talk about your business on radio for just 15,000 naira? Get a chance to talk your business for 25 minutes on The Entrepreneur. Mondays to Fridays, 3 p.m. on Eagles 102.3 FM, Abuja. For more inquiries, call 090-9984-4433. 090-9984-4433. The Entrepreneur. Talk your business for just 15,000 naira. Hurry now.
Eagles 102.3 Abuja.
And while the conversation continues here, this is Eagles Outlook on your radio experience. You can count on. We've been talking about the elections, the off-cycle elections in Kogi State, Imo, as well as Bayelsa. Bayelsa is still being awaited. Collation would resume later by noon today. Already 6 local governments have been declared where the PDP and its candidates, Doyodiri, seem to be taking the lead. But then in Kogi and Imo states, winners have been declared with the APC candidates in both states emerging leaders. Now, my guest has been Mr. Maximilian Tashilani, who is in Kogi State, sharing thoughts with us based on the elections and what he observed from the elections, all of the calculations. Talk about, what you mentioned earlier, voter education or, political education of Nigerians. Many would have thought that the elections would have gone a different way, especially in Kogi State, considering some of the lamentations we've heard over time from that state. What do you think voters need to know going into an election? There will be elections in Edo states pretty soon. What do you think the voters need to put in mind when they go to vote? Because it seems like a lot of times it's the sentiments of ethnicity and religion that drives a lot of voters when they go to the polls. What do you think should drive them? What do you think they need to know going into elections?
Okay, first of all, when we even talk of voters' education, what we witness in Kogi East, part of Kogi State, who could be voter apathy. To remember our last discussion, I said something. I say the crisis or the violence was more prevalent, was only cycled around Kogi East. So you see, maybe that could also put in fears into the heart of the voters, not to come out on the day of election. Don't forget also, we have a history in that region, every election period. Nothing less than 3 or 4 persons will be a victim of that election. He said that they were gunned down by stray bullet or direct confrontation with security agencies. So that by and large, and also could be a reason why the people did not come out. So they might have the intention to come out, but you know, in politics or in election, intention alone doesn't win election. You must be physically present. Excuse me, because you cannot vote in proxy. But if the people are already filled with fear, my brother, I'll tell you that significant number of those registered voters will not come out. But other areas where you saw that to the build-up of the election, there was relatively peace and calm. People came out. So even with the presence of the military in Kogi East, it mitigated some things, but not to the extent to give the voters confidence to come out. So in the build-up to election in other places like Edo State, I would say let the politicians not heat up the politics. Let them be civil in their campaigning. Let them be very civil in their electoral processes. Once these processes are calm, you will be surprised the number of turnout because everyone will relax and will be assured that there will not be violence in this election. Because those that died before now, what compensation, was there any compensation given to them? No. So somebody will now say, why would I just because I want to cast one vote, I will lose my life? So they will prefer sitting at home. So Edo State, I will advise them, the politicians themselves, they do not heat up the politics. If they can go about their political business quietly and in a civil manner, you will be shocked that there will not be need for military in those places. Let me tell you, some of our old folks, when they see soldiers, they even faint. You understand? So they even faint. So the fear of even coming that there are soldier men there, it's enough for them to remain at home. So you see, the presence of the military also, while it is saving or curing one kind of malady, it also engender another form of malady, which is fear. So a man that is already afraid may not come out to vote again. So those people should take a cue, and mostly it lies in the hands of the politician. And also, sir, the electoral empire, which is INEC, they may also be up and doing. Because if I have the notion that even though I come out to vote and my vote will not count, I will now say, then why should I come out to vote when I know that this vote will not count? So more than even the security agencies and the political parties and the politicians, INEC, which is the political umpire, have much to do. Let their action match their words.
Right, it's time for us to bring in our callers. And those who've been listening, if you've been listening, you can join the conversation now. Call 090-7353-0044 and 090-8766-8888. You can send SMS and WhatsApp messages to 090-9705-4450. I have a few messages here. I'm going to put them forward now. God's Own says, good morning, sir. Please, Nigerians' time has come. We should prepare our women for a strong polity, and let's see if Nigeria, our country, will not be better, be a better place to stay and make it without going to another man's land to be slaves. Long live my mentor. Thank you so much, God's Own. Mentor, what do you call it? God's Own. They're making a case for women to take the lead. Joseph Jojo says, good morning, my prince, and good morning to your guest. Please, Prince, listen to your guest. I don't want to comment at all, but let me tell Nigerians that INEC can never get it right again. The president should stop appointing INEC chairmen, service chiefs, and other juicy positions. That's when these institutions and agencies would get it right. INEC will never get it right. It's going from worst to worst. Every electioneering period. God bless you. Thank you, Joseph. That's your thoughts. INEC would not agree. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Yanacho.
Good morning. Moses, welcome.
God bless you. My concern about this election is that there was a news flashed during the election of Kogi that they are already reverse sheet already with an analysis before the election comes. If the INEC says they will investigate and get the corporate to order, we are not sure. What are the INEC and the security doing that brought about those results? Where did they get it from? Where did they dig down to analyze and come up with your final result when the election has not yet become? That is my question. And why will you go ahead and announce an election that was conducted with an error from the ground? How are we going to cope up to correct the further or future occurrences of these? So the issue is, who are they that are behind it? Thank you very much, John. And I want your friends to help me with this question.
Thank you very much, Moses. Let's bring in another caller. All right, we lost connection with that one. Mr. Tashilani, you just heard Moses and his concerns there, speaking on the result sheets, found with some citizens before, or some people before, even before the elections commenced.
Thank you very much. That is a very fundamental observation. From the feed, we saw it be not just audio report, but pictorial and video report of those incidences. I must say categorically, without equivocation, that INEC owe Nigerians, and most importantly, co-guides, a duty to explain that if there were such reports emanating from the field, what wisdom or what informed their decision to go ahead to accept results from those places? Is it that as a result that those sheets that were seen were then discountenanced and another fresh sheets given to them, or what really transpired? And after this discovery, were there still election in those areas? If yes, what was the observation and the input of the other party agents within those polling units or within those electoral areas? Those are the things that we need to know before people like us can draw conclusion from those premises. Because I believe in each of the 3,508 polling units in Kogi State, all the serious political parties have their own agents within those polling units. So maybe by the time we begin to see the reports of those agents from those polling units, and also those sheets that were discovered, if it carries their signatures or their seal of approval, then we'll begin to look at those things. But most importantly, INEC OCO guides an explanation as to what transpired, having acknowledged that some result sheets were already filled with fictitious or non-existent figure or numbers.
All right, let's talk about the SDP candidate and what he had said. He had gone on national television to say that the elections were rigged, but he wouldn't be wasting his time in courts. Let's quote him. It says, quoting him now, in the whole of the 5 local governments in Kogi Central, that is, the whole of the 5 local governments in the Central, there was no election anywhere. They wrote results. Result sheets were given to Yaya Bello in Kogi, in Okene local government area. They turned out over 130,000 votes, Habba, and INEC accepted that result. And what is on Beavers is less than 30,000. This is a candidate in that election putting out his thoughts, and that quotes there, and saying that the elections were manipulated, results were written, but he won't be going to court. What do you make of that decision not to challenge the outcome, even though he believes that it was rigged?
Well, number one, going to court or not going to court is a decision of the candidate and the political party. Where I'm a fault that decision is that I will say maybe it is too hasty to say whether he is going to challenge the outcome of those results or not. I want to believe that it's supposed to be exclusively the decision of the political party and the candidate. But if it's in their wisdom, the candidate has been given the exclusive prerogative to decide, and he said he will not be challenging the outcome of the election. Fine. But also, I'm not in his mind, I will not begin to adduce reason to why he might not challenge the outcome of this election. It could be either because he has lost confidence on the judiciary, or maybe it could be their party decision that, okay, this election result should not be challenged. But all in all, generally, that there are even abnormalities in our electioneering processes cause for a quest to begin to see how we could upgrade these processes so that we make them immune from all these kind of malpractices. I think we are supposed to be getting better, coming out from the card reader to the beavers. But again, sir, if you see the humongous amount of money that is spent on INEC, I can say yes, with this money, if they are properly utilized, there is even no need for us to begin to go and queue before we could cast our vote. I know if we have understanding with the Chinese, by the time you are going to register as a voter, devices will be given to voters that they will be able to even vote from the comfort of their room. Until and unless we get to the point where we begin to do electronic voting in Nigeria, I want to say, sir, the outcome of all our elections will be marred with controversies and irregularities.
Now, speaking some more on electoral reforms, I've heard some analysts say, look, one of the freest and fairest, one of the elections that judged to be the freest and fairest in this country was the 1993 elections that was annulled. And they say the option A4 was adopted in that election. Why don't we go back to using that option as against this whole idea of technology that could be manipulated? They say, look, technology is prone to hacking. But then in the 1993 elections, we saw people line up before the candidates that they preferred. And, that election was mostly transparent, was one of the most transparent ever. So why don't we go back to the only election that has worked, or the only, practice or form that has worked for us that is, particularly homegrown per se? Why don't we go back to it and see if that's going to help us better the elections? Before you respond to that, I'm going to bring in a caller. Hello, good morning.
Good morning to you, the big man in City this morning.
Good morning. Is this...
And also to you, the man that's talking this morning.
Dr. Dennis, good to have you.
I'm a cookie man.
Mm-hmm.
Are you hearing me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Also. My brother, see, not when everybody goes for this world. Are you hearing me? That will not give account. Are you hearing me? Because, let us say, okay, let me ask him, how many local governments did people did they have? Are you hearing me? We have the one local government in Kogi State. Only Ghana get 9. Are you hearing me? Okay, about get 4 or 5. I think, what do you call him, these people, they get in this at the chapel. Okay, tell me, if the other these people, okay, they say they ask you how many, this is. Election never start. They don't start to, they don't already manipulate this. And come out and tell us that without the other result coming, and already now, you are rigging the election, give it to a person who does not have to do it. My brother, no, nah. Everybody see, all of us are what is happening. Are you hearing me? For this world, nothing what you do for this year, you are not going to give a cat for the why they go to stop it. Because, tell me, see, this man now, this man that say what now? My brother, because they are not going to cover himself. The message is why would you don't matter for cookies.
Dr. Dennis, I'm trying to get your line of arguments because in Imo State, for instance, the candidates of the All Progressives Congress, Hope Uzodinma, who is the incumbent governor, won all 27 local governments in Imo State.
Okay.
How do you argue that?
Oh, that's saying that place where you're talking about now. Are you hearing me? That is Imo State. We are talking about Kogi. Are you hearing me? We are talking about Kogi for now. Let me ask him, how many local governments did the people have? And in where go make what do you call me, this Usman Ododo now, to win the election for Kogi State.
All right.
Dr.
Dennis, thank you so much. Thank you so much. We get your point. We get you. Thank you very much for sharing that one. I'll bring in another caller, and then we get back with my guest. Yes, let's do this. Let's bring in this one in. Hello. Good morning.
Good morning, my prince.
Good morning.
This is Dennis.
Yes.
That suppose Uzodinma won. I'm John from Suleja.
John, welcome.
Ask Dennis. Ask Dennis that suppose Uzodinma won 27 local governments in Imo State, and you're comparing. Please, sometimes where I get confused is the journalist is asking all this question to answer. I supposed to be asking you that question. Yes, this because you are the one.
How are you going to ask me?
Going out, having correspondence. You are the one that having correspondence. It's like you are our eyes representing that. But let me tell you, maybe you will not like what I'm going to say, but I think my fact, I have been in touch with my own local government and the senatorial needs of Imo State, or Kiwe to be precise. I can tell you for free that no election took place in that place. They say they are waiting. They are waiting for election to come. They are waiting, and the military is everywhere in that whole of these places. The whole senatorial zone is waiting. That what they hear is that the results have been declared Kiwe zone and oh God. Bye-bye, my prince. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John. Well, Nigerians, and the frustration coming out from this, in some parts you hear, oh, there was no election, there was nothing, we didn't have an election. We even saw in Imo State where the agent of the party was beaten and dragged out on live television from the coalition center. All of that, serious issues playing up from these elections. But it is what it is. The elections have come and gone. They say a winner has emerged. And so if you don't like it, you may want to go to court. Hello, good morning.
Alami calling from Central. And that is the part of the sensationalism we are talking about. In Hanacho, I'm sure you watched the long of that video that it was trying to interrupt the process, and it was still appealed to please not interrupt. And it was when our appeal failed on that year. What we were trying to do is to attempt to interrupt the process. And that was what gave birth to the reaction. And then, it's funny. When the people call, I try to analyze what happened in my own state, an election that were personal. And you are not there to vote. And they are coming here I don't get it. I think NPC need to do proper job, because what I'm hearing about my state election is far from the actual results on ground. I see I mentioned earlier on that the only affected place is Uzodinma. Another did not conduct elections there, and the total vote there is 15,135, and the winner is losing with over 200,000 votes. So regardless of who, let's assume that 50,000 votes, who scored 246,000 votes, he cannot come close to the winner. Even the Lions scored 60,000, right? So the reason why election will be taking place in Uzodinma with the 19, in 69 unit is because of the issue of pre-filled leadership, which ended immediately responded to and refused to conduct election in that private zone. And people put aside the emotional sentiment. Please, if you are not privy to what happened there, I appeal to you. I confirm again. The Kogi election is the freest and the fairest and most credible since our history. And if you're not part of it, your opinion that you read on blog or tweet, ignoring the one that is coming out from credible source.
Alami, what you're doing now would amount to you imposing your opinion on people. You have your opinion, you put it forward, and allow other people to also share their opinions on the elections.
You heard me, Danny. He said the election did take place. It's for place and they declare the winner. And I want you to please educate. I got there at 7 a.m. I said, please educate me, because I know that is the line of
you have heard this several times. I've said the same thing several times. My guest has reiterated it on the show. You cannot impose your opinions on people. Whether you say, if you teach them, or whether you say it or not, what their opinion is their opinion. Have your
You can say that election takes place. No, that is not an opinion. You need to correct them.
Are you listening to me?
The election didn't hold there, but the reason why the result was declared is because the result from that place is inconsequential. It cannot add value to any of the country.
Thank you very much, Alamin. Appreciate you. Let's get back with my guest. Mr. Tashilani, would have to wrap this up now. You've heard the responses from some of the callers and what their thoughts are regarding, the Kogi elections. How do you sum up, a response to all of these concerns put forward?
One thing I must tell us that in any election, ghosts do not vote. It's human beings that vote. One of the callers was saying that he came from where they have 9 local government areas. The how will place with 5 local government area defeat 9 local government area. Maybe he was not following our initial analysis, where I told him that Adavi alone has over 114,000 registered voters. But for their own candidate, they pull out 101,000 votes. I told you the Kenya, which has the highest registered voters, the total number of people that voted were less than 50,000. So you understand? So it's not ghosts that will come and vote. They have 187,881 registered voters. But when you look at it cumulatively, less than 60,000 people came out to vote. What happened to the remaining over 120,000 registered voters? Which means they did not come out. Why others utilize their numbers, others do not utilize their numbers. So the vote casted will show up in all of these things. Then somebody was talking about option A4. Why don't we go back to option A4? As of the time we are operating option A4, what was the number of registered voters? Those are the things we put into consideration. Maybe going back to that option A4 might become so cumbersome. And again, when you are talking about counting of people, where there is a little violence or crisis there, even the people that will be on the line will be dispersed. Then what happened to the counting? Do you stop the counting, or do you just take the last figure that was counted? But with balloting, you see that it is more protected. So we keep on advancing. We might not be at our best yet, but I think let there also be even the willingness and intention to improve. So with this willingness to improve, I think subsequently we are going to get it better. At times, unfortunately for Nigeria, at times when we take one step forward, we tend to take another 5 steps backward. But if we have what they call policy consistency, I think we'll be able to be improving on our electioneering process every 4 years. But if not so, my brother, I think we all Nigerians will be doomed, because elections are the actual avenue where we'll be able to pick those that are best suited to represent us. And when we talk about representation, everything we do here is all circled around getting it right politically. If we don't get it right politically, it will affect every facet and segment of our life as a people, our economy, even the religion that we pride ourselves on practicing. If we do not get the political aspect right, all of those things will be affected. Right. So let there be a conscious and a deliberate effort from both the politicians, the populists, the civil society organization, so that we can come together and fashion out and agree on what will be best suited for us as a country. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Maximilian Tashilani. He's been my guest on the show this morning. Thank you very much for sharing thoughts with us. We really appreciate your time and thoughts on the program. And to those of you who have been a part of it, sharing thoughts with us as well, thank you. Let's do this again tomorrow at the top of the hour 9. Unfortunately, we couldn't get to Imo State because couldn't reach my guest from there. But we hope that we'll get him, hopefully tomorrow. If we can, we'll get to that part of the country and talk more. Stay with us. Business News is up next. Right after that, Mata takes over on the Midday Extra Show. My name is Ihe na Prince. Good morning again.